morning, everyone. It is an auspicious day for us today. His Holiness is present here amongst us to bless this university and the future of India. It is not often that one gets an opportunity to witness and be present on occasions where such evolved beings bless us. I consider this a privilege, both at a personal level and at the level of this university, that His Holiness has taken time out to guide us, to make us a better institution. And I do not wish to stand between you and him, so I will cease to talk at this point in time and seek benediction from His Holiness for this entire university. Thank you very much.
His Holiness needs no introduction. And I hope all of you are aware, His Holiness is honorary professor of this university. He doesn't like the honorary part, he tells us. He doesn't mind the professor, you don't like the honorary bit of the professor. We gathered for a very special event today. At 2 o'clock, of course, he will be delivering the university lecture, as you're all aware, and you're all welcome, on ethics, educating the mind and the heart. Ethics, educating the mind and the heart. This university is about education. But we often only focus on educating the mind. In other words, acquiring skills as to how to make a living. So whether you become a zoologist or a botanist or an economist or a physicist, it gives you skills to earn money to make a living. What do you do with the money? You make a living, but what is life all about? What do you do with it? Do you buy the latest cars and drive around the city late at night at top speeds, thereby endangering your life and life of others? As we know, last week, the headlines of Times of India carried the tragic news that 4 students of Delhi University were killed in a car crash, traveling at high speed, intoxicated with alcohol. The country faces an ethical crisis. Our old values are slowly being eroded, and the new values are yet to take shape. It's clear educating the heart must be as important an agenda of the university system as educating the mind. How do we educate the heart? Traditionally, through religion. But as we know, this is a country of many religions. And given the history of partition, this country thought it wise to keep religion away from the classroom. We were afraid there would be too much controversy if we talked about Hinduism and Islam and Buddhism and Sikhism in the classroom. So we adopted a secular constitution. And therefore, ethics was a matter to be talked about at home. Because for some reasons, ethics and religion were seen so closely together that it was not even thought wise that while we leave religion out of university systems and school systems, we at least talk about ethics. The latest book by His Holiness, which has just come out last month and is the most brilliant of his books, is called Secular Ethics. And what His Holiness says in his preface to the book is that while this book does not contradict any religion, it does not depend on any religion. These are ethics for the entire humanity. We are therefore thinking as we are contemplating a move to a 4-year undergraduate system, that there should be a course on ethics which everybody should do. There's a Supreme Court ruling that everybody should study a course on the environment. But it becomes clear that you cannot preserve the environment, and you notice the haze, dusty haze that is in Delhi for the last 3 days. You know, these winds are carrying sand all the way from the Middle East and North Africa. It's not something we ever seen before, not in my living memory. The environment is turning topsy-turvy. But purely because of technology, the environment will not be saved unless we can be more parsimonious and reasonable in our consumption habits, unless we care for others. In other words, unless ethics and an environment are seen together, this problem will not be solved. And His Holiness has often written on the ethical dimensions of the environment. So next year, in select colleges, and we have students and teachers and principals of those select colleges here, about 10 of them, which are at various corners of the city, we will have a pilot course in order to experiment and see we can have a full-fledged course later on, a course looking at the environment, looking at ethics. The question is, how do we teach ethics? Can it be taught? Or should students just discuss it themselves? You decide what is ethical or not. Should we live in joint families? Should we relegate old parents to old age homes? Should we follow the West in our consumption habits? India is changing. What are the ethical concerns? How do we teach ethics in a multi-religious society? So we are here for a dialogue this morning. I'm going to request His Holiness to first speak for about 35 to 40 minutes, if I can request him, about ethics, how it can be taught in a secular way, but in a way that we actually don't just use it as another subject where we want to have marks. We teach reading Gandhi, but we acquire marks, we get distinctions. This is a course which will have no marks. It will be a credit course, but no marks. This course is not of the mind. It's supposed to touch us. But how do we do it? Can we do it? So I'm going to request His Holiness to share those thoughts for the first 40 minutes, and the rest of the session, the 2-hour session we have, we'll invite questions from everybody on ethics, about concerns, about how you think, through student discussion, through films, through engaged dialogue or engagement in a practical way with villages, with slums, by going there. How do we engage with our society and ethical concerns? So I will say no more at this stage. I will request our honorary professor, His Holiness, to say something, and we will then open up for discussion. Thank you.
Respected elder brothers, sisters, and then brothers, sisters. Actually, this meeting, as a result of our previous discussion, I think last year, there is some serious discussion on how to introduce the educating warm-heartedness. Another word, secular ethics. So here I have no, I said, a particular talk. Simply the why we need some kind of the principles, each individual. With that principle, in every field, in science, environment, or the society, or economy, and politics, or everywhere, with certain principle, then all can be positive, constructive. even education itself. Very sort of marvelous sort of brain, highly educated, without principle. The person himself, herself also not necessarily happy. Better education, more visions, more ambitions, result, more anxiety, more worry, more frustration, even heartbreak, heart attack. And the society also, I think system, generally speaking, many systems meant for benefit of the larger community. But because the person who supposed implementing these not sufficient sort of moral principle. So now question, what is the real sort of the moral principle? As you already mentioned, many my friends, some Muslims, some Christians, when I use the word, the secularism, secular ethics, they have little sort of reservation. And one time, one of my friend, actually, I think Home Minister of then West Germany, many years ago, on my talk, before my talk, I had some discussion with him. And he mentioned moral ethics must be based on religious faith. Then it becomes very narrow. And also, I'm quite bold. One time, firstly, I myself a little bit sort of bold. And second, mainly, I think, because of the almost the intimacy of feeling, the late Pope John, the Polish Pope. One occasion, I asked him the moral principle whether should be based on religious faith or not. The Pope didn't answer, but his lieutenant or his one minister, Cardinal, and then told me, moral principle must be based on religious faith. Then the problem, what faith? Obviously, theistic religion, non-theistic religion. You rightly mentioned India, 1,000 years, multi-religious sort of people or nation. So therefore, because of the circumstances, India's forefathers, they sort of decide India's constitution must be secular. Very wise. And according to some my Indian friend, told me the secularism not only respect all different religions tradition, but also respect non-believer. You see, there are sort of explanation or example. 1,000-year-old, this is one of the India's sort of school of thought, the Charvaka school of thought, denying existence of spirituality, nothing, just sort of the things which we see, hear, we can touch. That's all. No next life, no karma, nothing. So there's something like ancient nihilism. So then, it's my friend, actually Advani, one occasion, you see, our casual talk, you see, he mentioned that in ancient time, many others, the school of thought condemn Charvaka sort of view, nihilism. Yet, refer person who have that view, refer rishi, sage. So that means respect. So India sort of, what should I say, 1,000-year-old sort of secularism, not only respect all the different religious traditions, but even non-believer. So ancient times non-believer and modern times non-believer, same. So India sort of secularism, the idea is very, very sort of wise. So the problem is the moral principle based on religion. Then what is religion? Then those non-believer know what to do. Now today, now over 7 billion human beings. At least a large portion of 7 billion, essentially non-believer. If may I say so, my Indian friend, basically very religious-minded, but in real life, they don't much care. They care more about money. So even those people, you see, who are very much involved corruption. I think each morning they may perform some puja. Why? These people, I do not consider as a believer. They carry this religious thing simply as a tradition. If they are, so these days I openly stating, other people, non-believer, like Chinese brothers, sisters, many of them deliberately denying spirituality. They corrupt, they involve corruption, understandable. Their only concern is money. But India, comparatively, this nation, more religious-minded, isn't it? Then the corruption increasing. Actually, 2 years ago, I was in Jodhpur on my talk. As usual, some student. After my talk, I take some questions. One young student asked me, he's still in school. After the education, when he starts real life, unless I involve corruption, whether I can survive or not. One school children. I really surprised, shocked. Then within weeks, within two weeks, I was in Bombay. Some my friend, businessman. I talk, casual talk. He also mentioned, unless you involve corruption, your business cannot be successful. And I really shocked. This nation, I think among Egyptian civilization and Chinese civilization, and then I think eventually the Indian civilization, I think this civilization really produced, I think, maximum sort of great thinkers, philosopher. Still today, India, generally religious sort of nation. But then this corruption almost become part of way of life. Very sad. So I'm telling, there's no third way. Either accept God, Ganesh. I think Ganesh give you some money, but not through corruption, through honest way. And Lakshmi also, I think, gives you money, not corruption way. Justly, right? Just way, right? truthful way. So, if you accept God, you must lead your life, including money, work, must be honest, truthful, transparent. Transparency. We are a social animal. You have to live in community. You cannot remain in these high mountains. Some of those sadhus who spend many years in high mountain. Then, whether popular or not, doesn't matter. But people who live in society, trust, friendship, very essential. Trust only come on the basis of transparent, truthful, honest. If you're saying something, doing something different, how can you develop trust? Without trust, friendship is superficial friendship. So we are social animals. We need genuine friendship, genuine friend. Right? How can develop? What is the proper way to develop friend? Is trust. Trust, not money, not fame, not power, not education, but warm-heartedness. I think we should learn the animal. We should learn from the animal behavior. They don't care your social background. You are rich or poor, educated or uneducated, or believer or non-believer. They don't care. So long you show dogs, cats, warm-heartedness, genuine kindness. If you show little sort of hypocrisy to these animals, even those poor animals eventually knows my master, not very sincere. They know, isn't it? So we have to learn with this biological sort of factor, mamla. I think basically same. So therefore, either you accept religion, God, and your life must be pure, truthful, honest. Or if you really worship money, then forget about God. Forget about religion. No need to go to temple. Just go to bank or business sort of centers. Only these two. Many Indian, many my friends, of course I always respect Indian, because historically Indians is our guru. We are Chela. 7th century, 8th century, the Buddhism reached India, reached Tibet. From Indian great philosopher, thinkers, particularly like Chandarakshita, great philosopher, great logician. These people introduce a type of Buddha Dharma which we practice. I usually describe pure lineage of Nalanda tradition. Of course, Pali tradition also there, but mainly Sanskrit tradition. So we are truly Chela of Indian Guru. We really respect. And me personally also. Nowadays, I describe myself as a son of India. About 3 years ago, I met some Chinese, overseas Chinese sort of reporters or journalists. One group. One Chinese reporter asked me a question. Why you consider yourself as a son of India? I think he felt this is something political sort of reason. Then I told, truthfully, my mind, my thought, every particle of my brain filled by Nalanda thought, not Chinese Confucius thought, but Nalanda thought, like Nagarjuna, Arya Asanga, and of course, Shantarakshita. So every particle of my brain filled by Narayan thought. That's Indian thought. Then, about 3 years ago, then this physical, last 50 years, survived by Indian dals, Indian rice, Indian chapati. So I consider myself as a son of India. So with deep respect, my guru, now please, time come. You should be more serious. You got independence. That independence struggle through non-violence, wonderful. I think at the time when you struggle for independence, perhaps some people might consider your sort of non-violent method is more as a sign of weakness. Later, after Gandhiji disappeared, and more and more sensible people, I think one clear example, Nelson Mandela, Bishop Tutu, these people really follow sincerely Mahatma Gandhi's non-violent principle. And Luther King, Martin Luther King. So now, India, I think moral principle, this point, I think since this country, you have secular, constitution. So I think you are very, very good. This nation, I feel, very fit promoting secular ethics. Among professors or scholars, and anyone who are expert about Latin.
Anybody expert in Latin here? Not here.
You know, I want, please, you should research. You see, the word ethics, I developed some sort of curiosity many years ago in Europe. After my talk, some my friend, some sort of the Western Buddhist scholar, they say Buddhism is not a religion. Buddhism is science of mind. And some say Buddhism is a kind of atheism. So I mentioned Buddhism. Of course, we respect all other religions. But our own sort of view, no God, no creator, but self-creation. So on that level, some kind of some kind of atheism. Then one sort of audience, later, of course, my friend, he told me, atheism means anti-God. So Buddhism, no concept of God, creator, but not anti-God. It's very true. Buddha respects all different traditions. Essentially, Buddha and Buddhists accept multi-religion. So I felt the Latin word, atheism, is anti-God. So then ethics also may be some connection with God or something. Then atheism, that very word, may create confusion. Secular atheism, secular ethics, some kind of, the meaning of believe something. Then this is wrong word. I don't know. So that's those scholars. You need more research. I don't know. I have no time, and also is not much interested for these things. So please, you as an academician, please research. If there is that kind of a word, then I think we should avoid the word ethics. Perhaps then secular morality, secular principle, or like that. So in any way, now, last, I think, few decades, many occasions in universities, my talk in university, many different universities in America and also Europe, different countries. When I talk, modern education system, mainly oriented material material values. It is understandable. About 1,000 years ago, the separate education institution started. Then the moral ethics, inner values, taken care by church. So no need the newly developed institution, education institution, no need to take care of that. But then gradually, time passes, the influence of the church reduces. And family values also a little bit reduce. So then, no one taking care about inner values. You also mentioned that only in family, because of within the family. So now it's quite obvious. Now we are 21st century. So you see, when I talk, you see, the ethics or certain sort of the inner value, many audience fully agree. And when I meet individually some scientist, some social scientist, some educationist, some brain scientist, health scientist, all agree. Inner peace of mind, calm mind is very, very essential. Modern education is lacking about that moral because of that principles. But so far, no one bring some sort of concrete sort of proposal or something, some scheme. Then last year, we discussed, and of course my talk in this country also, you see, always to touch these things. So now I feel time come. Secular, whether you call secular ethic or secular morality or secular inner values, I think India is the right place. You have secular constitution, right? So, reason, education helping us, the gap between appearances and reality. So similarly here, our inner experience, inner feeling. Appearance, we simply got some wealth, good education, a good family, a good reputation. You feel these are the ultimate source of happiness. The reality, not. No matter your sort of the material value, if inner sight, insight, calm mind there, your attitude towards towards everything, including yourself, attitude those external values, even your attitude towards enemy, make big differences. If you have certain sort of mental attitude, no matter what sort of external difficulties, you can maintain peace of mind, calm mind. 24 hours, your life appears in the center of trouble. But because of your inner sort of understanding, or sort of inner sort of what's there, God. No, inner I think awareness and certain inner value, you can keep peace of mind 24 hours, including dream. So that's the reality. Some my friend, I think billionaire, very rich. When we met, when we talked, after initial sort of nice words exchange, then eventually they express their complaint. A lot of worry. So money failed to bring their inner peace. So the reality, in order to lead happy life, it is extremely important, our inner value. So now, not through prayer, not expecting God, Creator. I am Buddhist, not expecting Buddha, but my own sort of effort. So the education should include the reduce appearance and reality in external matters, and also real happy life. Here, simply knowledge, not religious belief, simply knowledge. So that's my thinking. In any sort of good teaching, if based on religion, no matter what is a wonderful religion, it never be universal. Now, education, universal. So, in moral ethics, or I don't know, that yet to finalize. Kasa, ethics, moral, secular ethics, secular morality, secular sort of values. Through education, through awareness. This is not through meditation or not through sort of belief, but to use our intelligence, the reality, more experiment, more analysis. So that actually educating. So in education field, without touching any religion, simply based on scientific finding. Now, many scientists, you see, they found a person whose mind more calm, the physical condition much better. So sometimes they use healthy mind, healthy body, very closely. So therefore, the scientific finding, and then also if we open our eye and use our common sense, we can see among the politician, or among the religious person, among the businessman, or among any sort of the field, those persons who are more compassionate, more sort of sincere, then these people much happier. Their friend, genuine friend. Then in these different fields, the person who extreme sort of self-centered attitude, no concern about others' well-being, sooner or later these people eventually, you see, find sort of difficulties, more criticism, more complaint. So these, I think, simply educate, make awareness about these moral principles are really immense help for your health, for your family, for your community, for your nation, and ultimately for global humanity. So now, I really feel India is the really proper place to introduce these sort of the certain sort of system. This also is not, you see, because of the Indian Parliament is passed something or something. Not that way. But the education people, serious people, make some plan. The first class, second class, from kindergarten up to university level. And then let us carry experiment, one school or 5 schools. After 5 years, examine what's the impact on the minds of those students, positive or negative or nothing. If nothing, then we can ban. Then I will shut up my mouth. No problem. If after 5 years, some positive sort of impact, then we can expand 10 schools, 100 schools. We'll see. Already in Wisconsin, my great friend, one scientist, Richard Davidson, with his sort of initiative, in his area, some school, some sort of training of compassion of mind. So students who receive that, much calmer, much happier. And also, Emory University, also you see carries some sort of, as an experimental sort of project. So school children who get some sort of awareness and some sort of training of mind, they are not only they themselves become happier, but also they are, because of contact with their fellow student, much happier, much improved. So already, this is small scale, some sort of experiment, actually is carrying, at least as far as I know, I think 3, Stanford also, I think, Stanford University also is carrying. And then Emory University, and then Wisconsin University, and some other university, I think more, like that. So now, some concrete sort of plan, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I think India should be a leading nation in that project. You mentioned interest for India. Now please think global level. Recently I was in Pune, talked with over 8,000 Indian students all over India. I give some talk. Many students, you see, express India, India, India. Then I told, afterward, you should think about global level, 7 billion human beings. India, I think, look, as I mentioned earlier, I think at least 3,000-4,000 years, I think this nation is really produced wonderful thinkers or philosophers. And now today, the most populated democratic country, democracy very stable, and with rule of law, freedom of speech, freedom of press, compare neighboring states. Obviously compare with China, people from China. Of course, they also is a very ancient sort of nation, about 5,000 year old sort of their culture, these things. But the totalitarian system, no freedom, a lot of censorship. India, no censorship. I think the media people, if they find this is some sort of the secret thing, they very sort of fond to make public. That's very good, very good. And including those politicians or some other, or even religious leader, some corruptions there, they're very happy to make expose. So I think Indian people, particularly these young people, should feel proud. Your nation, most populated democratic country, very stable country, and 1,000-year-old, you see, this country produced marvelous thinkers or philosophers like that. So you should lead. And now, beginning of 21st century, I think if Indian create some new ideas and implement in this country, I think Indian can make significant contribution, better world within this century. This is my view. So I have nothing to offer you some plan on these things. Simply appealing you. So you, educationists, you should further discussion. And I think if necessary, set up some sort of committee, or some group, and serious discussion, research, how to introduce, not national level, but then start one or two sort of school in Delhi. Then we will see. Then eventually introduce some other states. This is my view. In any way, you see the conclusion. Now time comes. We must move through action, not just talk. Clear. Unless you carry some actual action, I won't come. Yeah. That's all. Some questions now. Oh yes. Okay.
But I will be back with this.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
The Vice Chancellor is unfortunate to leave. There's a critical meeting at the University Grants Commission, and we were in a conundrum whether I should attend or the Vice Chancellor should attend, but I've had my way. So we invite questions. Please just say your name and which college are you from, and please state it briefly on ethics, on things that you may want to ask His Holiness. Also, would you like to be taught ethics? The word taught is a wrong word. How should we introduce a discussion on ethics in colleges and so forth? And anything else that you might want to ask His Holiness on this theme of ethics. Who would like to go first? Yes, the lady at the back.
Come to the front and use the mic, please.
So, to use a mic, you need to press the button, and once we've asked a question, we switch it off. Otherwise, it creates interference.
Good morning, His Holiness. Sir, I'm from Maitri College. I'm a science student. And I want to know, do you think that science and ethics can go hand in hand, particularly biological sciences?
I am not expert, but according number of occasions, I think actually last 30 years, I had serious discussion with scientists. I think for your sort of question, maybe the calm mind. A calm mind very much related with self-confidence. Self-confidence very much related with open, warm-heartedness. Usually, it's a disturbance. It's come from fear, suspicion. So if you develop some kind of open sort of heart, others, usually from where you get some fear, some distrust. So in any way, the calm mind, more compassionate mind, brain sort of this blood circulation, all these remain very normal way. So through that way, I think Emory, I think some sort of the experiment in America, some student I think 2 weeks, 3 weeks, some kind of sort of session, some sort of learning about compassion and training about compassion. They also call meditation. Meditation, not religious or religious significance. Simply, it's a training of mind. So before they start, they check blood because of the blood pressure and amount of anxiety or stress. And there's some other sort of test. I don't know. You see, there's some different things. Even you see some liquid from mouth. These are tests. And after 2-3 weeks training, again test, blood pressure reduce, anxiety reduce. The person become much calm, much happier. So science means, I have great sort of respect to science. Science means try to seek the truth, the reality, not just a belief, seeking truth. Actually, when I start my sort of desire, my wish, more contact, more discussion with scientists about 40 years ago, my friend, one American lady, who actually married with one Tibetan. So I just casually, she mentioned about my desire. Then she warned me, science is killer of religion. Be careful. Then I thought, to think. As I mentioned earlier, Nalanda sort of way of thinking. I think Buddha himself made clear, all my followers, bhikshus, scholars, should not accept my teaching out of faith, out of devotion, but rather thorough investigation. We call analytical meditation and experiment. Through that way, once you convince, then accept my teaching. This is a very scientific way of thinking. I think quite unique. So like Nagarjuna, these great scholars examine Buddha's own word. They took the liberty, not accept out of faith, but rather examine this particular Buddha statement. Can accept literally or not. So a lot of Buddha's teaching, text rejected. This is some other purpose, not the reality, not because of the authentic faith.
Not actual.
No, not actual. So therefore, I felt science also you should try to seek the truth through experiment. So as a Buddhist, if you see certain sort of thing which mentioned in Buddhist scripture really goes against the scientific finding, then we have the liberty to reject that. I'm Buddhist. I hope I'm sincere Buddhist practitioner. Including my dream. I often, remember I'm Buddhist monk. I never remember in my dream I'm Dalai Lama. I often, remember I'm Buddhist monk. And also, some research, some analyze during dream time. So perhaps, hopefully, I'm quite Buddhist. But then, I publicly reject the existence of Mount Meru on flat world. I believe the scientific sort of explanation, the round world goes sun, because of rotated sun, not sun which is rotated. Like Abhidhamma Karika mentioned the opposite. So sometimes I jokingly, telling publicly, the Bosuband, wrote the Abhidhamma Karika, mentioned these things. And then he mentioned also, the size of the moon and sun. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. So then I jokingly telling, at that time, no sort of the telescope. So Bosman, of course, naturally, later became a little old. So his eyes also not very good. So try to look moon and sun. Little differences. Otherwise, this is not big differences, the size. So he mentioned. So this, I am still Buddhist. I have liberty. Reject these things. So that's the Buddhist way of thinking. So no contradiction with modern scientists, scientific sort of thinking. So last now over 30 years, I think, generally speaking, almost annually meeting with scientists. Very serious discussion. When some sort of or talk, some scientist is showing some interest about next life, or some other source because of the unique, also the Buddhist sort of concept, then I usually tell them, this is not your business. So the science also a way to seek the truth through experiment, through analyze. Now here, I think Buddhist term, the Tong Menjur, Chungse Gongjur, Shidu Gongjur.
The obvious tangible phenomena, the hidden phenomena, and completely hidden phenomena. There are three levels of understanding the phenomena.
Another word, you see, one level of the phenomena or reality, we can see, we can touch. Another phenomena, like mind, emotion, we cannot see, we cannot touch, we cannot calculate. But actually we experienced another level. Then, like the concept of impermanence, we cannot see, obviously, but through analyze, we can see. Through reasoning, we can see. That's another level. Another level, only through experience. Otherwise, there's no way to know is that. So, we have to rely the experience, the person's sort of, because of word, like that. So, three levels of reality. So, modern science, up to now, mainly deal with first level. Now, gradually, nowadays, some open-minded scientists now begin to read or begin to show interest about the second level. So I had those genuine scientists, their mind very open. At the same time, remain skeptical. The student of Nalanda philosophy, Nalanda tradition, must keep skepticism. Because, you see, in order to carry investigation, it is highly necessary questions. In order to develop questions, you must have skepticism. If you blindly accept that no basis of questions, of curiosity, like that. So many Nalanda texts at the beginning, they mentioned this book meant for those people who are very skeptical sort of minded. So already as a result of 30 years sort of meeting with scientists, more and more scientists really now showing genuine interest about mind. When the subject comes about emotion, about mind, information. Their own field, no information, very few. Only ancient Indian sort of thought. Those, not only Buddhism, but also the Hinduism, were involved the practice of samadhi, practice of vipassana, bound to explain about mind. So, more information in ancient Indian sort of thought. And particularly in Buddhist tradition, a lot of explanation about mind. So, last 30 years, there are more and more scientists now very, very eager to get more information about mind, about emotion, how to tackle these things. So, kasa, 되게 좋은 말이다. So, I usually make clear right from the beginning, when our meeting, some people describe dialogue between Buddhism and science. I object to that word. We are not dialogue there. Buddhism and science, no. Buddhist science, ancient, yes, in any way, you see, ancient Buddhist science is unique. Ancient sort of, it's a science of mind, and modern science, dialogue on scientific level. As I mentioned earlier, we never sort of discuss about certain sort of views regarding in Buddhist religion that we never sort of discuss. So, we have common ground. I think cosmology, neurobiology, quantum physics, and psychology. These 4 fields is a common field. I think you're one nuclear physicist, Raja Ramana. Once he told me he found one sort of writing of Nagarjuna. In it, he found the concept of quantum physics in Nagarjuna's writing. So, as an Indian, she feels very proud. The concept of quantum physics, even 2,000 years ago, great Indian thinkers already found it in that concept. He mentioned to me like that. So there are many similarities, common field, like that. Next question.
Okay, the gentleman here, give your name and your college and ask the question.
Sir, I'm Harshvardhan Kumar from Jamia Millia Islamia, and I wanted to ask, in terms of ethics, what is vital? Rediscovery of the old, or preservation of the existing and known, or adopting the new ones? What should be our guiding force in terms of practice?
You have 3. Rediscovery.
Yeah. In terms of ethics, what is more vital? Rediscovery of the old, preservation of the existing and known, or adopting the new ones over a period of time? What is or what should be the guiding force? Thank you.
Actually, whatever you call ethics or morality, I think ultimately, now for example, violence and non-violence, the actual demarcation, violence, non-violence, is not depend on action or appearances. Ultimately, demarcation depends here. Motivation. Compassionate motivation, genuine sort of sense of concern of others' well-being. You may use harsh word, like I think the kind sort of, also the parent. You have some children? No children. You? I think you may have some experience. You see, your children, very much of your concern, but doing something dangerous thing. So you may shout, don't do that. A harsh word, or stupid, you may word that. And sometimes you may say, forcefully, or stop that. So such things are, looks violence. But because motivated, sincere sort of sense of caring, so that's non-violence. Then on the other hand, if you say, I want to cheat someone, I want to exploit other, and say nice word, praising, and a smile, and some gift. Looks non-violence, but essentially, because you want to cheat, because you want to harm, because you want to exploit, it's essentially violence. So now here, moral ethics or moral values, the mental attitude which essentially helping other or bring some happiness, bring some comfort to other. Not doing anything which create fear or pain or anxiety. That's ethics. So, as far as our sort of mental experience is concerned, modern time, at the Buddha's time, or even before, not much differences. Clear? So that's my view.
Okay, who would like to go next? Yes.
So basically, I think same. Now they love, compassion. Since I think the Stone Age, right? Stone Age, even before, even other animals, warm-heartedness, taking care, warmth, they appreciate. Last more than over sort of 100,000 years, same. The modernity, modern time, modern world, modern India means external sort of appearances, external things, lifestyle, including lifestyle, change. But human emotion, here, same. Several thousand years, I think mainly same. So the thing which dealing with mental level brings some sort of comfort, reduce fear. That's the moral survey. That's principle, ethics, like that. So now differences in the ancient time, through religious belief, try to promote these. Now that now change, I feel. Of course, I think a few billions of people still, you see, whether really, as I mentioned earlier, whether really sincerely practice religion or not, there is possibility through religious belief some improvement. But meantime, quite a big number, essentially non-believer. So now, through religious teaching, I think as soon as the word of religion, faith comes, their mind closes. But education, universal. Not based on religious sort of religious faith or religious text. Simply scientific finding and our common experience. I think here I may mention one thing. My own case, my mother, uneducated, just a farmer, very remote village. very, very warm-hearted person. So I received, I think, sufficient sort of compassion or care from my mother. That's why perhaps on my face more smile. If at that age I experienced lack of sort of affection, more fear, I think today I may be different. I don't even become Dalai Lama. I may be little. Whenever I meet people, automatically develop some kind of feeling of distance, cautious. The result, unhappy. I often used to telling one story. In many years ago, in Mexico City, I think in Quito, some kind of interfaith sort of prayer service. They organized, an organization organized that meeting. So among them, one Japanese, supposing their style of monk, and some other, I was there. Then at that ceremony, one Japanese, when his was turns away, his turn, or speak something. And as you see, they usually sort of do his rosary go like that, and some prayer. And then some, he very solemn, very solemn way, very solemn, very solemn. Appears, try to appear very holy. But then some way, stings away.
String. No, string of this
String of
rosary.
the rosary broke. So the bead scattered. But he still remained like that. As if nothing happened. I really felt laughing. If I am that person, I will stop chanting and pick up my sort of because of the beat. That's much better. What use? It still remain like that. And some of the sort of leaders, I think they may feel something different, but show differently. Look, particularly those totalitarian systems, out of fear, always tell lies. Recently, I met one Tibetan. After he visit foreign country and meet me, the local sort of Chinese officials, you see, visit him, and as usual, ask many questions and inquire. Then he truthfully explained what really happened. Then meantime, he also, you see, expressed, you, the officials, some Tibetans out there, you, as a sort of official, staff members, officials. So I know, your position also difficult. I know. He expressed that. So then, after a few days, some Tibetan officials who actually inquiring about it. So some officials come visit him. They are very much appreciate. You mentioned our difficulties. Then that official says, we are very difficult because we have to say something towards people and have to say something they are superior. So between they always find a very difficult task. So always, you see, tell people also little lie. To superior, also tell lie. Recently, I met some Chinese from mainland China. I told them, since 1951 till March 59, I also, you see, learn how to act hypocrisy. telling something nice, but feeling something different. So they're only April 9, April, end of, no, April 1959, when I reached India, actually I liberated practicing hypocrisy. I told some Chinese, like that. So this really never help solve problem, but increase problem, because such act increase suspicion, distrust, and fear, like that. So ethics, whether you use the proper word, I don't know. There's some kind of principle. They essentially make sort of reduce fear, distrust, and increase human friendship. That's the real meaning. So not much differences. We can say ancient time and modern time. I don't think much differences. But the differences, now we need the way to presentation, right? Present that through education, through awareness, not through prayer, not through belief, religious leader or religious God. Simply use our common sense based on common experience, then scientific finding. Through that way, educate more awareness in our mind. Like the two extent I met in Jodhpur and on Bombay. It was very sad. I think unless we do something effectively, if this situation remains, that's, I think, great disaster. Whole world and also India. So India, very important nation. Unless we make some effort, they gradually rotten. That's very essential. Clear? Yes, next question.
Okay. Just come up in this.
His Holiness, I would like to ask, how can we bring environment, ethics, and industrial growth on a secular path? Because three are related to each other.
Yes.
And problems start
Yes.
from this only.
Yes. I feel, as I mentioned before, the education, politics, spirituality, all these is ultimately related with the ethics here. So environment issue also very much related with sense of also the concern of well-being of the firstly of the concerns of the people and the global level. Which also the Kasoda. I think environment issue. Unless we have some kind of genuine concern of humanity, then we are not compassion towards environment itself. No. This is our home. If environment significantly sort of damaged, we will suffer. Not our generation, our next generation. Unless we take sort of serious care, environment and water, I think next generation. Even today, I think a poorer section of people. And also now this, another sort of serious problem, gap, rich and poor. This also is a phenomenon all over the world. Now in China also now, as a socialist country, now this gap has increased immensely. Last year, I visited Mexico, then Argentina, then Brazil. So each place, you see my talk, public talk, several thousand people. And I ask audience, the gap rich and poor, small or big? And the audience say, oh, big. Then, corruption. Corruption. Also, small or big? Again, say, big. And three. No. Okay, doesn't matter. So it is commenting, I think, global levels of problem. All these, you see, ultimately related with here, sense of responsibility, sense of concern, of well-being. So, my point is, you see, the poor people, I think those millionaires in big city, in any way, they may manage some way. Millions of farmers, water resources reduce, drought happen, difficult. So it is very much related with moral principle and education. I think even the past history, most of the words they means tyranny. Tyranny. Most cases, I think, as far as the brain is concerned, quite brilliant. But lack of moral principle. So their education used negatively. Their knowledge negatively. And technology also. I think great scientists, atom, nuclear physics. Eventually, you see, nuclear physics is utilized for destruction and bring a lot of fear on this planet. So science itself, nothing wrong, but user of the science and also technology. Technology is wonderful, but the person who used technology wrong way, then, and even religion. I often telling people, quite often you see people describe politics is dirty politics. Then politics itself, not necessarily dirty, but one instrument to solve society problem or construct the society or govern because of the country, like that. But the politician, they have sort of moral stand low. Then politics become dirty politics. So similarly, a religious leader remain on throne, try to show very holy, but in deep inside, just self-interest, self-centered attitude, and exploit religion. Religion also become dirty religion. So these human different activities, no independent positive or negative, entirely depend on the motivation, the user. So like that. So environment issue also very much related with sense of concern of humanity's well-being. Like that. It's my view.
Okay, the lady, yep.
Good morning, sir. I was just listening to you, and you just told how personal experiences, upbringing, these are so important for inculcating ethics in us. But again, on the other side, if you suggest that education system should bring classroom education for ethics, don't you think it's equally bringing down ethics to skill-oriented matters? You're making ethics a subject to study. So isn't it problematic in a way? Whereas it should be something which parents should inculcate in the private life, where something like that. So I was just wondering about
private
it.
life now where the Lupton introduction private Can you be more specific with your question, please?
Like, for example, the Supreme Court has made a judgment that environmental studies is compulsory in all schools. But I have personally studied environmental science in school. But what do? We just study like the effects of green revolution, the bad sides, and how green revolution was introduced. That is what environmental sciences is taught in school. But if that's what I'm saying, like if ethics is equally brought in classroom education, do you think it will actually help in inculcating ethics in students? Don't you think it should be more personal experience and like?
So can we teach ethics? I mean, will it just become another like physics, or it will actually affect us? Is it possible through class? Okay, mothers can do it, but can teachers actually affect the heart, or it will just become another subject?
Now, here, ka.
New color nala. Nyamnyu thone. The ethics yung way jikana yorwas.
Orwa.
Did you do that? The Nyamnyu koga mevase lusupa lobzen registrene. Koryu labdan na hin lavi yung gribes.
Now, here, it's a good question. Actually, after our meeting last year, I thought, now the moral, or whether ethics or moral values, is something training of mind. So, in order to carry training of mind, firstly, we should have better knowledge about mind, about emotion, and the whole system of the mind. Some kind of sort of map of mind. I think that should be beginning. Like for health, firstly, you see, the biology study about these brains and nerve system, or all these. Then through that way, you see, they educate how to deal with physical pain. Similarly, now mental level experience, now seriously make awareness or educate. Firstly, we should include the study about the map of emotion, mind. So that's actually academic subject. Then also is our common experience. Nobody say anger brings inner peace. Nobody say that. Compassion, with compassion, forgiveness brings inner peace. That's our experience. Then people who have some knowledge about the map of the mind, map of the emotion, and the very nature of different emotion contradictory each other. Like a chemical. First, in order to utilize the chemical, first we know each chemical sort of its own entity and effect these things. Then synthesize. So similarly, the training of mind. First, we should have fuller knowledge about mind, about emotion. So that's, I think, the subject, I think quite serious subject. You can teach, you can explain, and study. Once you develop sufficient sort of knowledge about the system of emotions, then you can tell that those sort of real destroyer of inner peace, anger, fear, then how to tackle. Because its own sort of very nature of the system is such. So, in order to deal with anger, you have to deal with this. In order to reduce fear, you have to do this. In order to cultivate self-confidence, you see, you need such emotions or thought. So quite, I think, a lot of material to teach. So I think when when you sort of carry some serious research sort of work, I think the one sort of at the beginning, some study about mind, about emotion, then the effect of each emotion, each sort of emotions. That obviously through our experience we know it. We can
We can actually introduce the different functions, the different natures of those emotions.
Once you see they know the whole system and connected with their own daily experience, then they develop interest, how to train, how to sort of change, how to improve, how to reduce fear, how to reduce anger. That ultimately lead the Kasota fuller knowledge, the Kasota method to keep calm mind, not through prayer, not relying on God or Shivaji or Saraswati, but through your own training. So that's the educational way. Clear? Do you think some sense or nonsense? Huh? Karsa?
You agree?
Does it not strike us that
그래서 어디 쉬고 다 니코도다 가서 그래. 근데 구두샤 아니 저 요면 저는 어디 디지가 삼수. 내가 루릭 남샤서로. 즉 르도단디 있어. 애들 가져야 돼. 배셔 알려식 미교사로 녀모사도 여러다 그야 명디 뒤다고 이미 뭐 메시. 그 최저도 대용거라. 그 뭐가체? 코레 심중 남샤 디디 마치세. 아니 디밍 가서 지금 녀모인데 지금 미교사 계속 그 첩디 디 판독할도가 바이올로지컬다 수구가 아니라 그 판을 가르카르도가 that is scientific on in research. What there is something about it. Okay, I just suggest here the two scholars.
Professor Namita Ranganathan, you like to ask something?
Your Holiness, since we are discussing the education of the heart, I want to ask you, very often the heart gets filled with anger, with greed, with jealousy, with unhappiness. What do we do in such situations? And the recent propensity is to have more of these negative emotions. There's also frustration. So what do we do in such situations?
That we already sort of discussed or already mentioned. You see, actually, lack of awareness, this whole system of emotion. Then also, I think we very much sort of based on appearances. The reality, I think like appearance, anger once come, and something formidable force. And then also often we say, that's part of mind. Nothing wrong. That's the indication. We very much based on appearances, not reality. So huge gap, reality and appearances. So how to reduce this gap, reality and appearances, in mental level? Because the mental subject, mental subjects about mind or about these sort of destructive emotion. Once you get more sort of knowledge, then you have the equipment to tackle this, to deal this, not through prayer. When I get some irritation or anger, it won't help to pray to Buddha. Buddha's mind, I cannot exchange my mind and Buddha's mind. Buddha's mind belongs Buddha, my mind belongs me. So only use my intelligence based on my sort of knowledge about these, then what use? Anger. And the causes of that anger also analyze. Then no independent absolute cause. Finally, your own lack of understanding about the reality. And troublemaker, when we met some troublemaker, actually, you also made some contribution for that trouble. So once you realize that, immediately your anger, your hatred reduce. Anger usually needs some kind of independent, absolute target. That also is entirely based on appearances. Reality much interconnected. So knows that interconnectedness. Then anger now no longer any absolute independent target. So the intensity of anger then reduces. So that's the way. So that's much depend on awareness. So awareness comes through education. Some sense? Yes.
Have one student, then we'll go back to the professors. Yes, the gentleman here.
Good morning, His Holiness. You have mentioned about corruption in monetary terms, but I'd like to request you, what ethical reasoning will you give for corruption of mind? That
corruption the Kajabsa.
Corruption the ethics. Some corruption.
Terrible.
So what leads to corruption of mind?
yes, what ethical reasoning will we give for corruption of mind?
You mean it's only ethical reason for corruption? Unethical. It should be an unethical, actually, right? Reason for corruption.
The reason for corruption of mind is unethical, but what to...
Why does the mind?
Mind, again, as I mentioned earlier, if we know map of mind, mind itself is pure, neutral. Some sort of different thought, different emotion influence the mind. So negative or destructive emotion influence the main mind. Too much worry, too much anger. Another sort of the mind, like compassion, forgiveness, influence the main mind, then anger reduces. So this whole sort of system, the mind, not so simple. Even brain, very, very sophisticated. Many brain specialists, they say they not through modern scientific sort of research, they have fairly good sort of knowledge about brain sort of activities or brain thing, but still not fully. So brain with physical, even that, very complex and very sophisticated. Mind and emotion even more. Not easy. It is really a vast subject for study. So, main mind is pure. I think that's more sort of complicated, but the positive mind, constructive mind, mainly based on reason. Anger, attachment, desire, and extreme self-centered attitude, these are part of emotion, part of mind, but no proper solid basis. If you analyze more, then these emotions become weaker, because no solid reasons. Compassion, forgiveness, these emotions more analyzed because of the solid sort of basis. Therefore, there are two kinds of emotion. One emotion, spontaneous, and also biological factor. These emotions are not based on reason, not based on training, not based on awareness. The counterforce of these emotions, this kind of emotion, comes only through training, awareness. So that's solid basis. So long run, those emotions which just spontaneously come without reason, without training, and those emotions through training, through reason, long run, that is much more stronger. Like that. Is the answer for your question? Or not very clear? Okay.
Holiness, can I ask a question just as a follow-on from what you said? So is the original mind, if there is such a thing as an original mind, is it neutral or is it positive? When we say bodhicitta or bodhi nature, is it the original mind which has then over time become covered by affliction, or it is neutral and we have to train it and we can train it either way? Or is it originally a pristine mind and it gets covered by various things and we have to uncondition it? Or no, it's just neutral. And if you train it in a positive way, it becomes positive. If you train it in a negative way, or because you pick up unconsciously, it becomes, or is there something which is originally a good mind? Is it positive or neutral?
I think obviously, I think every person here sometimes has lost anger, lose anger, develop anger. Even if it's the same person, one period you really love, you really feel very close, very much attachment. But after another occasion, you may hate same person. So, if mind itself is very much sort of what's the nature in the love or attachment, there's soul or mind there, that must be there. So same object, same person, one time very close feeling, one time very sort of negative feeling. So mind is neutral. Influence this mind, yes, it becomes like that. Influence this mind, another sort of attitude. So mind itself, neutral. Or pure here means, I think, neutral, I think pure in the sense. Then origin, then we have to deal with creator, whether there's creator or not. That's a religious philosophical view. At least Buddhists say, no beginning. If we believe beginning of mind, then a lot of contradictory sort of questions, right? So, I think Buddhist view is better, because mainly, like physical, consciousness also come from previous sort of causes, continuation, like this physical, from parent, grandparent, go like that. I think millions of years ago, there's some jellyfish or these things. That also goes the Big Bang period. Big Bang also comes the previous sort of a particle. Go like that. So the ultimate sort of continuation of the particles or body, no beginning, beginningless. If we accept beginning, then either accept God, creator, or causeless. They're both from Buddhist viewpoint. If you accept God, or my friend, very dear friend, very religious-minded person, wonderful, I really admire. And he also engaged Kazoda, social service or mainly medical field. One time, he sincerely asked me, of course, he believes he's a creator. So on this planet, so many mischievous people. Why God created that? Then, of course, I know him. So half joke, I told, since God creates hell, so there must be some people have to go hell. That's the only answer. Otherwise, no answer. God, full of mercy, full of power, yet he created these mischievous people. Why? Of course, that's from Buddhist viewpoint, non-theistic religious viewpoint. I'm not interfering. See, your belief is much better to believe in God, much better. Recently I met some Cuban. So they escaped from Cuba under the Castro sort of tight control. So he very religious-minded. He told me, often he prayed to God, please bring these sort of authoritarian leaders to heaven. Very nice. Although he don't like these authoritarian person, but at the same time, very much love. So ask God, please bring to heaven, to God's presence. It's wonderful, isn't it?
Very compassionate. Anu, you have a question.
Holiness, if the University of Delhi is going to introduce the course on ethics and environment in the university, who would you think could or should be teaching the course? Who would teach the course?
You, teacher.
Very kind of you to say that, but the
No, at the first, as I mentioned earlier, we have to sort of research work. Some scientist, some medical scientist, some sort of psychologist, some social workers and educationists, and make some draft.
Yet
Then some serious discussion. I also say may come. I will come. Since this kind of work, directly or indirectly, I involve. So certainly, I am available. So some more discussions. No single person, they give some kind of everything. No, these are not come from the authority or something. Discuss, specialist, expert, discuss something practical, and with full of knowledge. So I think next time, I think first some kind of draft. Then with that paper, and more discussions. Here, as I mentioned earlier, at least some sort of some kind of subject 동부직.
Some part of syllabus.
Some part, I think, explanation about psychology, about mind. One chapter, yes, one chapter. That's, I think even children may have sort of interest. So a lot of sort of something like map of the certain living thing within our brain. Quite interesting, isn't it? With this better knowledge, fuller picture about mind, then how to use, like I think science. Firstly, these particles identify, then synthesize, utilize, how to bring benefit to us. Like medicine or poison, different chemicals, because of that combined, then some are very beneficial, some are harmful, like that. So mind also like that. There are so many sort of different, something like a particle, although no physical, something like that. And then, with full of knowledge, then you see, join this mind, this emotion, join that emotion, there is some different shape, different feeling, different experience.
Okay. Please.
Honorable Sir, UGC, University Grants Commission, has a program called Philosophers are Makers of Modern India. Under that, in Shyama Prasad Mukherjee College, we have 3 centers, like Buddhist Study Center, Guru Nanak Study Center, and Gandhi Study Center. And it is voluntarily, students join it. And we have felt, there's vast change among them and the whole atmosphere of the institution, We take feedback from them, we have their brainstorming sessions, certificate courses are organized, and they are interactive sessions, When they are supposed to come and share their problems or anxieties, emotions, whatever they want, they're free, From heaven to earth, they can discuss anything. And like who is teaching? Sometimes we invite experts of the fields, and most of the time our own teachers are addressing them and sitting with them, and they are invited to make posters about, like variety of activities they are involved in, and of course environmental issues also. And I'm satisfied by the change, and it's more like discipline, because a disciplined mind can bring in, other all around development of the institution. So at a very small scale, we have tried it, and we have found really change. And this can be done. It's not difficult at all.
Very good, very good. I think I want to ask one question. I think everybody agree, this country, really marvelous sort of country, as I mentioned earlier. There's many positive things there. Yet, there's corruptions and sort of exploitations, and I think including caste system or dowry practice. Sometimes you see in the name of, because of the religious belief. So these still is a backward thinking. There. Do you agree? In spite of a lot of progress and greatness of India, but still a lot of sort of drawbacks. Do you agree? Yes. Now that, now do you believe now existing modern education can eliminate that or not? Oh. Then I think 2 years ago, Bihar Chief Minister, he constructed the Bihara, Buddhist Bihara in Patna. So he invited me to participate in the open ceremony there. Then he, in his speech, he mentioned with Buddha's blessing, Bihar state rapidly prosper. Then my turn. If your sort of development, prosperity, due to Buddha's blessing, then your state much earlier already sort of developed of prosperity, because Buddha's blessing lasts 2,500 years already there. Yeah. So, however, Buddha's blessing must go through able chief minister's hand. So that's the reality. Again, I think Buddhist monk also, you see, trained Buddhist logic. So we must be realistic. Just you see, through blind faith and hoping something mysterious force is unrealistic. Clear? I'm not any religion. I respect all religions. I myself, Buddhist monk. But sometimes we simply go too much superficial way. I often used to telling, expressing the guru, actually my guru, these Indian spiritual leaders. I'm as a messenger of ancient Indian thought, mainly two fields, ahimsa, religious harmony. Wherever I go, wherever I talk, I always touch these two things. So I consider myself as a messenger of India. So now messenger level, make every effort. So now time come, my boss, these religious spiritual leaders of India must take active role promoting these things. So my little sort of critics with respect, the spiritual leaders, they remain their own cocoon, right? Cocoon. And they carry some rituals, some ceremony. This is not sufficient. Unless people go to the temple or mandir or something, then they get something. No, I think come to the masses and tell the real value, real sort of message of this 1,000-year-old tradition. And make relevant day-to-day life. That's important. Like that.
We'll take the last question, and I think that prerogative goes to Professor Meenakshi Thapan, who's helped to organize all this. So one last question.
Sir, I would just like to, sort of say that in bringing about this kind of an effort in higher education, which is the university system, do you think it's already too late? Because many of our students who come or go to school, they are already develop a sense of who they are. The sense of identity is developed very early. They learn to respect certain religions, not respect other religions, or not tolerate other religions. They learn to respect certain values which don't necessarily include ahimsa and or religious harmony. They learn to become very strongly rooted in a certain self, which may be a destructive self. I'm not saying all these young people are like that, but there is a tendency, because of the influence of the media, now increasingly the internet and other sources, of such a sense of personhood, which is experienced at a very young age and becomes crystallized. So how, when these young people come to us in the university, they already have a very strong sense of who they are and where they belong and who somebody else is and where you belong. How are we going to break all that at the level of the university? I think my own feeling is, because I worked also on schools, that maybe it is in the school that we need to first bring about this kind of a change, where we can already work with young minds who are still in a transformatory stage. But when they come to us, they are already so, how are we going to break that? Or redo that, or try to even redo that? I think it's a very uphill task. And very we should not be unrealistic when we start something. I would not like to see this program failing or being unsuccessful because of unrealistic goals that we set for ourselves.
다 semnal야지 kum시로 냐바지 자서도 인디 교약하고 있어. I think that's very true. I think two things. Usually, I tell, I share on my belief. My generation, I think you also, I think we belong to 20th century. Then it's those people who blow 30, 20, 15. They belongs to 21st century. Our century gone. Our duty is make clear what's the wrong, including our education system. That's our duty, make clear. Basically, 20th century, wonderful century, lot of innovations are there. Really, massive development. But overall, 20th century becomes century of bloodshed, century of violence. The beginning of this 21st century, these unhealthy, unfortunate sort of events, these definitely due to negligence or some mistakes in past 20th century. Now this 21st century, just beginning. 11 years passed. Now 89 years yet to come. So you, young people, now you have the opportunity, change that this century, becoming more peaceful century, more sensible century, ultimately depend on sense of caring of rest of the humanity. That's the compassion. So should create a compassionate century, not through prayer, not through religious sort of belief, but through use common sense with help of education. So I jokingly was telling many occasions, if you start, perhaps with help of sort of generation who belongs to 20th century, we witness all these troubles. So tell them, now we must do something, new thinking, new effort, what more sort of universal level thinking, not just your own family, your own state, your own nation. That's our responsibility. Let them know all these sort of inadequacies were that. So you eventually, we'll go after 10 years or 20 years, we'll go. So I often used to telling people, the end of this century, you may experience new world. It's possible if you make effort, start effort with fuller knowledge. Beginning of this century, good fruit. Later part of 20th century, 21st century, you may enjoy. So we will go. We will go on. So I jokingly was telling, either heaven or hell, I am going to watch you, whether you really implement or not. So if you not properly implement, then perhaps if I'm in hell, then I will ask you, please come to hell. If you do good thing, if I'm heaven, then I'm ready to welcome you. Clear. This is one thing. The second thing, these subjects, not professional sort of today, because of the scholars of the work. That's then university level. But this changing human mind, changing human sort of attitude, I believe young age, they don't care about social background. If I make friendship this boy, this girl, what I will get benefit. No, so long. Friend, smile, play together. They feel that's more important. So at the young age, basic human good quality very much alive. At that time, from that level, now kindergarten, their basic human good values still there, and then education help them. This is essential. This is immense benefit, your own happy life. Then school, first, second, third classes, up to university. I think that's the way to change self or soul like that. This is my view. As I mentioned earlier, I spent I think 5 years with my mother. Then, even when I reached Lhasa, I lived separately with my mother, but very constant sort of that's where my mother visit. Whenever my mother come, my mother very sort of expert making different bread, our village bread. Really delicious. Yeah. With milk tea and some kasa juguti. Kasa, oga. Mari kasa. Cream. Milk. Kasa dimi cream. Put some cream on bread. Really. Still, my tongue feels something. So, each time my mother visit Nobulinga or Potala came, always brought some bread. So, and then also is those people surrounding me, including sweeper, very honest, very truthful. When I ask something to officials, sometimes they are rather cautious. But those sweeper, ordinary people, they come from village. Very straightforward, very innocent, very truthful. So all gossips I receive from them. Wonderful. They criticize without hesitation about regent, about high lamas, about officials. If I ask some officials, they say, oh, nice, very good. So I grown up that kind of atmosphere, trust, faithful, equal. I am Dalai Lama, but play with these people. So these people also treated me as another young boy. So when we sort of matching there, competing, often, of course, they are physically stronger, so they often win. So sometimes I cry. I lost, I lose, so I cry. But the immense help, equal sort of human sort of relations. Wonderful. So, and then I start study Nagaland text about this sort of the map of emotions, map of mind. And also as a Buddhist, some training. I think my life, at age 16, I lost my freedom. At age 24, I lost my own country. A lot of difficulties, a lot of sort of ups and downs. But my mind, I think, comparatively, my mind quite sort of calm. These, not as a sort of reincarnation of Dalai Lama, but through sort of through such environment and my mother and training, so everybody same. If anyone is born through lotus, some high sort of Indian gurus, we say, we believe, born through lotus. So sometimes I sort of jokingly telling, maybe those sort of such wonderful, great saints come from lotus, they may have more compassion towards lotus rather than human being. But we, fortunately, come from our mother. So we get the blessing of mother's compassion. So firstly, through training, from kindergarten up to university. Not just academic sort of scholar subject, not that way. You see, at a young age, their sort of human good quality already there. So further nourishing, nurturing that. With then knowledge, if knowledge can be sort of supporter of that good quality. Otherwise, you see, I think our mistake is these good quality by birth, by nature, then eventually dormant away. Dormant. Then our specific knowledge, and then plus environment, power, wealth. With that, then cheating, lying, bully, this kind. So that's, we are not, because of the balance. Human brain, smart sort of brain, knowledge, and basic human good quality. If go together, more balance, then I think real possibility to build genuine, happy human society, human community. And once India, the systematic way to introduce some sort of new sort of thinking or new sort of pattern of moral education survey, moral education from kindergarten. Perhaps some other countries already, as I mentioned earlier, some university already carry some sort of experimental level. So eventually, like United Nations, you see, can sort of what say, can make effort to universal level, the new system of education possible. So, you young Indian, you must look beyond India. Recently, I was in Pune talking, as I mentioned earlier, I mentioned you should think beyond India. And practical level also, India also part of the world. World happy, India will happy. World, some sort of disturbances, the India also will problem, will get problem. I think very clear example, Pakistan, some problems within there. So some sort of effect here. In Sri Lanka also like that, particularly South Indian. One time, some South Indian journalists, they really very much emotion. They suffering in Tamil area, Tamil Samare, Tamil. Oh, no. Sri Lanka, Tamil. Oh. So they little bit sort of complain me, you should do something. But then I have no connection with Sri Lanka people, Sri Lanka sort of what's the inspired Buddhist country. But actually 60 sort of first foreign trip supposed to go to Sri Lanka, a pilgrimage. The Minister of External Affairs, everything was prepared. But then last minute, Sri Lanka government say indefinite postponement, right? So now 53 years passed. That's truly indefinite, truly indefinite. Okay. So So lastly, this talk, my talk, not just talk. Please now, some sort of set up some kind of committee or some group, informal way, and further discussion, and make some kind of concrete sort of plan. Then further discussion. Then perhaps I think, as I briefly mentioned last year, I want to invite some sort of some thinkers or some scientists from America, from Europe. Let them also participate. Listen their views, their experiences. Then our sort of draft paper may be more complete. Then, after we finalize, then I think we will find some school from kindergarten carry experiment, as I mentioned earlier. I think these initiatives must carry by like NGO, like that. Then, if sort of concrete positive result come, then we can approach union government or state government. Like that. Good, thank you. Now lunch.
Yes, absolutely.
Too much talk.
Yes.
Now becoming empty here. I think you also feel like that, I think.
Shunyata. I think all of us would agree it's been a privilege to be here and to be part of this session. A very serious, thoughtful session. But it's the genius of His Holiness that he can make things so simple. I think with intellectuals...
Reality is not that simple. So that's it.
I think it is the...
Since you already, you see, some signal eventually withdraw. Yes.
I think it is the vested interest of us intellectuals to make things complicated. That's how we make a living. We make things complicated. His Holiness says ethics is about being happy. When are we happy? When our minds are calm. When are our minds calm? When we have nothing to hide, we trust each other. When we are truthful, we're open. Then our minds are calm because they are without fear, without anxiety, without anger. And if we behave with others in the same fashion, that's ethics. As simple as that. And therefore we smile, we get love from our mothers, we treat everybody as if it's not just somebody else's mother or our mother, we carry that over. So it's not just spontaneous, and that's the training part. We carry that feeling over to the rest of humanity. That's ethics. Call it secular, call it timeless, call it whatever. That's the simplicity of this deep and profound thinker we have with us. A true intellectual, a true honorary professor, and beyond all that. But Your Holiness, you'll be happy to know the colleges that are represented here, the principals are here, students and the teachers are here. Coming July, we are starting in all these colleges a pilot program. It's called Reflecting on Environment, Individual and Society. Reflecting. So students will reflect. And teachers will also reflect because we also need to change. I was a bit dismayed by Meenakshi's question when she said, is it too late at university level? What about old-timers like us? I mean, it's too late for us to change, is it? I hope we can also change.
But frankly, young people, more easier to change. Older people, their brain already become a little hard. I don't know. I think...
You're right, sir. Here often we have academic council meetings with a lot of old people, and you should be invited to one of them.